Welcome to online learning of Social History of England. First, let me brief the purpose of learning Social History of England. Among the various countries of the world, Great Britain stands supreme in its hoary past with rich culture. The language of Great Britain, that is English, is the language of commerce, industry and science. It's now the language of the world. Apart from these, it's perhaps the most profound in its literature right from the days of King Alfred to the present day. Learning the social history of any nation is an independent discipline which is very useful for promoting literary scholarship. It also supplies us with the knowledge of the past and a glimpse into the future. Literature and society are linked to one another in many ways. A knowledge of the one enhances an understanding of the other. Literature is a social establishment. So, learning the social history of England by an interesting, enthusiastic student of English literature is full of rewards. A sound knowledge of the social and intellectual background of English history is of utmost necessity. The book, written by Dr. Padmaja Ashok, covers the period from 500 BCE to 2019. It is the outcome of the writer's long experience in handling the subject, that is for 2 decades. It's written in a lucid and expository prose. The treatment of the subject is scholarly. Let us learn about the restoration that happened in England from 1660 to 1688 and its impact on the social life. In general, restoration means the return of a monarch to the throne or a head of the state to the government, that is returning back to power. Here, the restoration of 1660 was a return to the ancient form of government by the king, the lords and the commons. The English people were fed up with the constitutional experiments of the Puritans. They welcomed Charles II, who was in exile, back to the throne. He was extremely popular among the English people. Here, the important events that happened during the restoration is depicted here. That is Charles II back to throne in 1660, the Church of England regaining its power, the theatres which were closed were reopened, the religious persecution, that is unfair or cruel treatment because of race, religion or political beliefs, became widespread. In this video, we are going to learn what is meant by Restoration England. What are the evidences for restoration and how that monarchy was different from the previous one? The formation of 2 political parties during that Restoration England. The other important events happened because of the decisions by the government. And finally, the 2 great calamities faced by the people of the Restoration age. Let us see all one by one. First, let us see what is restoration in detail. Restoration England 1660 refers to England of the period between 1660 and 1688. Prior to these, the Puritans suppressed many institutions and practices. All these were restored after Charles II became its king. He was very popular for his good looks, wit and humor. The term restoration refers not only to the restoration of monarchy but also to the restoration of the Church of England and of the old social hierarchy and its customs. An extreme reaction was witnessed against the strict morality of the Puritans that were enforced for the past 11 years. The court of Charles II was the center of gaiety and color. There, wit and cleverness were valued more than wisdom and integrity. What is the evidence for restoration? We can see in this slide. We have evidence for restoration in three areas. The first one is politically, the second one ecclesiastically, and the third one socially. First, as far as politics is concerned, instead of military dictatorship, King Charles II was restored back to the throne, along with the parliament and its laws. With regard to religion, instead of Puritanism, the position of the bishop, the prayer book, and the Anglican Church were restored. In social life, in the place of Puritans, the nobles and the gentry were restored to their hereditary place. They become the acknowledged leaders of the local and the national life. How that restoration of monarchy was different from the previous one. The entry of Charles II marked the beginning of restoration period. He was exiled to Europe previously, but after Oliver Cromwell's death, he was invited back. His entry, his arrival set the tone of upper class social and political life. He tried to bring back the sophistication and the splendor of Louis XV court in France. He re-established the Church of England. The Parliament shared its power with monarchy. This is in precise. Now we'll move on to a detailed one. With the restoration in 1660, monarchy was restored, but it was a very different kind of monarchy. The restoration brought about many changes in the powers of the crown and the parliament. The monarch's powers were limited greatly, but the power of the parliament increased. The king himself had to depend on the parliament for money. He granted general pardon to all the old roundheads, except those who had actually taken part in the execution of Charles I. The Ironside army, that is the Cromwell's cavalry, was paid off and dismissed. The important decision taken was that no king should keep a standing army during peacetime. A major political event of the period was the formation of political parties. It occurred in the late 1660s, that is 17th century, and these parties were the main political parties in England until 20th century. After the dissolution of the Cavalier Court by Charles II, the supporters of Charles I in the English Civil War developed into the Tory party and the Whig party. They were formed in opposition to the court and they stood for the rights of the parliament. Tory party was founded by Charles II's new minister, Lord Danby. They were more conservatives and they remained loyal to the monarchy of Charles II. Whig party was formed by the Earl of Shaftesbury, Anthony Ashley Cooper. They were more liberal and were open to reform. They controlled the parliament for most of the 1700s. Canvassing of the two political parties, that is the Tory and the Whig, is depicted here in this slide. Follow-up work to evaluate your knowledge level and course outcome is given here. Some important questions based on what you have learned are enlisted here. Go through it, recollect what you have learned, organize the points and prepare your answers. Hope you had a nice learning time. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.